Oh man. Well, welcome to the Cinematic Dores Podcast, a movie podcast where we give our opinions on your favorite movies. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So this week we're actually giving our opinion on our one of our picks. Actually, I think Josh. Well, I kind of picked it, but Josh wanted to do a hockey movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the Miracle. It's called American Propaganda. So
Yeah. They win gold once and they're like, let's make a movie about it.
exactly. So we're representing right now. It's playoff season. So Josh, just in
Spoilers.
general, how was your week? How was your hockey watching been? I've been watching the games. We've been texting each other a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually, before we get into that, sorry, let's do our handles. So if you're new to
Right.
the show, or if you're watching, listening, if you're watching on YouTube, please like our page, subscribe, share it with your friends. And let's grow that audience a little bit. We started doing shorts as well, so we'll
Yeah,
put up more.
there's something.
There's something. We'll put up some ones from our older episodes, some embarrassing moments will be highlighted in those.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you can also interact with us on social media at Twitter at Cinematic Dores. You can go to
Yeah.
our Instagram at cinematic_doors. And you can also email us cinematicdores@gmail.com. And doors is
Mm-hmm.
spelled Dores, just like
Yes.
Josh's last
Don't
name,
get
not
that
like
wrong.
the door you close and open.
Even though we
And
play on that.
we are an audience driven show. So we even had a guest on last week. Peyton came on. She was amazing and awesome. And she actually gave a suggestion to add a sound at the end of each episode. And we did that last week. We added a
Yeah.
closing door sound. So
Oop.
give your suggestions. Tell us. I mean, depending on what they are, we might not. I mean, yeah, we'll try to
We'll
do
take
stuff.
discretion.
Well, yes.
We'll use discretion.
So but those are our plugs. This is our show. And even if you listen to audio, please share it with your friends. Tell them this is a local show. It's local to Detroit, Michigan,
Yeah.
and
But
actually local to
we
Regina.
aren't Red Wings fans.
No. So you're wearing your Edmonton jersey.
Yeah.
My team did not make the playoffs because they were terrible this year. They
Yeah,
actually,
they're
okay, first of all, they
Alberta
actually
team.
weren't terrible. They only missed the playoffs by about 4 points. And so I think a lot of people are overreacting.
That was crazy. The end of the season, like there was a wild card race on
There
both
was,
sides.
and it was intense. And Jets, I think it
And like
actually benefited the Jets a little bit to barely make
and
it
the
in.
the
Yeah.
Jets, Nashville and Calgary all played each other within
Yes.
like a week. And so it just made it even more intense and it was great.
And the
It was
Blackhawks ruined many playoff chances
yeah,
for a few teams
they're home
by beating
wreckers.
them. They are home wreckers. That's right. So,
And they weren't even close to making it in. So
and maybe they ruined their chance to get Bedard, right, in
yeah,
the
they're just
draft.
ruining
So,
everyone's chance.
same
Yeah.
with the Canucks. They started playing well at the end of the season, ruined their chances for Bedard, but
Right.
you can't. I mean,
Even
if you're,
the Coyotes, like Clayton Keller was
yeah,
just popping off.
if you're intentionally tanking, like the league can fine you. So,
Oh.
so
Well,
I'm also an NBA fan, so I'm representing my team that made it into the playoffs, the Lakers. If you're watching, so wearing my Magic Johnson jersey today, and they lost their last game to Memphis, so their series is tied 1-1. Edmonton is at 1-1 in their series, right?
yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they lost to the Kings in their first game.
Oh,
Uh, they gave up the lead.
that
Terrible.
game was awful.
It was good up until the third period.
It was like that played with me and it made me that was when I realized that hockey has gone to a point where it affects my mood
Right.
if they don't win. And like I went to bed sour that night.
McDavid was held pointless in that game.
Yeah.
He have any points last
He
night or
had he
Wednesday?
did, yeah.
He got
Not
an
last
assist,
night,
right?
the night before.
He didn't score, but he got an assist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean, he
think
still hasn't scored.
he'll just and like Draisaitl it has like 3.
Draisaitl's
He's
like
popping off.
that
So.
one-timer goal on Wednesday was just
Yeah.
unreal. Yeah, short side one-timer.
Also, before I forget, I need to mention last week, the word was nostalgic birthdays, which I got a lot less this week. Maybe
Okay.
because it was in the middle.
Maybe.
I don't know. But Carol and Jesse, which Yeah. Technically
Carol and Jesse.
one, because they're married. So
There you go. Thank you, Carol and
shout out to
Jesse.
you guys
Yeah, you listened to last
and
week's episode.
Paisley.
Thank you. And I think, yeah, Carol was at your birthday, right?
Yeah.
Right. And she was the one that was telling me that she was listening to the Legally Blonde episode currently at that
Yeah.
time, and she was really happy with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so shout out to Carol. Thank you for writing in and sending that word. And keep an eye out or an ear out, because anytime this episode,
Yeah. Surprise.
that might come back. So we're recording in the middle of the day, so my lighting's all screwy, but that's okay.
Yeah. You
And
can see the light.
you might hear some thumping. That's just my daughter dancing upstairs. So there you go. You're welcome. Yeah.
Oh.
So Josh, how was your week? You're in exam season.
Yes. My week was good. It felt really long. I had a final that I'm not overly confident in. I think I passed, but compared to the rest of the year, it was probably my worst.
Right.
It's like I screwed up in the playoffs.
You had your moment to shine, and you
and I
buckled
lost
under pressure.
Yeah. So, other than that, I've just been watching hockey, just keeping up with the playoffs.
Right,
This is my first time like being involved in like watching
dedicated.
playoffs.
And
just,
how is that feeling?
oh,
How is that going? Is
It's
playoff hockey different than season hockey? Do you notice anything different?
well, it's just things matter a lot more.
Yes, they do.
So like, I don't know, and there's just the fear of uncertainty. So
Right.
just like not like being like, oh, what will happen? Because it's just so random. Things can happen that aren't called for or expected. Like yesterday or 2 days ago when Florida beat Boston, like that was just, I don't think a lot of people expected that, like 6-3 or something. So
That was a great game too.
and Boston
Florida
just
played
absolutely
well.
like getting sick.
Yes, they're like they
And
literally
it's
have
just so
they have
much uncertainty.
Do they have COVID or is it the flu? What is
I
it?
don't know. They have something.
They're not saying what they have,
Monkeypox?
so I don't think. Yeah. But their entire team is sick. So, and then like
Yeah.
Zdeno Chara, there was jokes because he ran the Boston Marathon, which was
Oh,
earlier
yeah.
this week. So there was people joking that he should just jump in the lineup. And
Yeah.
and if you don't know who Chara is, you should look him up. He's huge. Like he's massive. He's like 7 feet tall, massive
He
defenseman.
is.
Yeah. And he's awesome. So yeah. And I honestly, the NBA and the NHL playoffs this year have been awesome because the parity is like really strong. There's not one. I mean, in NHL, there is one clear team, Boston, that should win the cup because they broke the
But
record for points this season. But their series is 1-1 right now.
people have said that is the
curse.
curse.
Yeah, you win the President's Trophy, you get usually knocked out in the first round or second round.
So,
yeah. So we'll see if
they're being cursed.
that team is very good, like very good, but
It's just they just so happen to get sick.
Yes.
Maybe the curse is real.
So the parity has been like each game has been like, what's going to happen? Like the Leafs totally were destroyed their first game. They lost 7-3.
Then absolutely demolished
7-2.
Game.
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
Absolutely destroyed.
Like they looked back to their normal selves because they were good this year. So it's been exciting to watch. Even Seattle gave who are they playing? Who's Seattle playing again?
Colorado.
Yeah, so they almost beat Colorado.
They gave them a run for their money. It was 1-1 yesterday.
Yeah.
Now it's 1-1.
Yeah.
And then the Jets also lost.
Yeah, but they beat Golden Knights in the first game. So yeah, lots of like lower seeds beating top seeds.
It's kind of weird to see that like first round teams, like most of the teams, it's now 1-1. Like
the series is split. Yeah.
It's like the people who you'd expect to lose all won, except for Boston.
Right.
In the first round. Except for, there's other exceptions, like in the East. But then on the second night, it was more like what you would expect. So it's just interesting to see where this will go.
Well, and the Rangers are just destroying New Jersey. They beat them again 5-1. So I think that team, honestly, that's a cup favorite right there, I think, to be honest.
I don't want an American team to win.
Right, right. I do think the Rangers are just so tough. Like they are just physically tough and big, and so
Yeah.
they're kind of like a
And they
bully
have
team.
Kane.
Yes, Patrick Kane. I don't think he's doing crazy well, but he's on
I
the
know,
team.
but
Yeah,
he's still there.
he's
Like
still there. Yeah. Yeah,
morale or
so but
something. I don't know.
Shishirkin's our goalie. He's amazing. So Allmark's another top goalie in the league. He's on Boston. So, but Samsonov had a good night last night. So we'll see if that continues for Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun to watch. In the NBA, it's also like the West, especially. No one knows who's going to win in the West. Like it's wide open. So each game is exciting to watch because there's no like clear winner, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's really fun to watch these games, and because they're so close. My Lakers lost on Wednesday. They actually shot terribly, so they lost by 9, and
Ooh.
they they came back. They were down by 20 in the game, but their field goal percentage was like 32%, which is terrible. And so I mean, not that worried because they shot terribly and they still only lost by 9. So like they were
Yeah.
under 10. So I think that, and like defensively they weren't very good. So I think if they just played a bit tighter, I think they can beat
If
Memphis.
they were
So
just a bit better.
not better, just a bit tighter.
If my team was the best, then they would definitely beat
Anthony
me.
Davis was held to like 12 points, I think, and he usually gets 30 to 40 a game or 20 to 30. And so if
Hmm.
he gets another 10, right, the game's tied, So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's been fun to watch, and it's been exciting. We love sports. Josh, you like sports?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
mostly hockey. I don't
mostly
really watch
hockey.
basketball.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why you
Prefer
like
water
hockey so
polo.
much? Like, why did you just get into it now and not?
I don't know. I think it was probably bound to happen eventually
Right.
because like my dad really likes hockey. He's very
Okay.
involved. And then I never really just started watching it. And then when I did, I was hooked.
Right.
And I
Right.
also started kind of like skating and playing hockey on my own. And I just thought it was really fun. So I think that just really added to it where I've always
Right.
wanted a sport where I can enjoy watching it and maybe playing it. Although I
Yeah.
haven't like played an actual game of hockey, but I enjoy just like playing with friends and
Nice.
whatsoever.
It's a
Like
good
at
workout.
camp.
I'll say that. Like
That's
it'll
true.
wreck your back if you're not in shape.
That's
I
true, yeah.
I grew up playing hockey. I played left wing and then I also played goalie. And
Oh,
I played until I was about 13. And then I stopped playing just because the time commitment was too much. And we moved to a new league and it just wasn't a lot of fun anymore. And then I
fair
grew up
enough.
playing basketball as well in high school. I can only play point guard because I'm so short. So that's the only position. So I had to like get good at shooting. And
Are
so I
you
did
good at
that.
shooting?
I'm not like probably good anymore. I can shoot. Like I could probably hit, you know, when I played rec league 2 years ago, or not 2 years ago. Actually, it's just before COVID, so 4 years ago now. Oh,
Oh wow.
goes fast. 2019. That's 4 years, eh? 2023.
Wow.
That's bonkers. So I played in a rec league, and I was hitting like 3 or 4 shots a game, and probably field goal percentage was like 20 to 35%. So not great, but not
So
like
not
I
NBA.
can hit a shot. Like I could hit a 3-pointer. I could hit, but I'm really short and small. So like everyone I was playing against was huge, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but resort to like lots of passing and opening the play and going in and kicking out, right? So it's
Yeah.
fun. I like it. It's both sports are my favorite sports. I do think I like hockey more just because
Hmm.
hockey is just there's nothing like hockey, right? There's
It's so special.
frozen a frozen piece of rubber that's like flying around the ice, and the
With a stick
average wrist
and
shot
hitting it
now
with
is like 80 miles per hour. Like it's
yeah.
nuts, right? Like it's crazy.
Those goalies, like you really think like they're taking hits.
Well, and the puck usually stays pretty frozen because it sits on the ice most of the game, right? So just
Hmm.
imagine getting hit with that at even like
Yeah.
60 miles per hour, let alone 80 or 90 if it's slap shot or
Like
a hard
even
wrist
for
shot.
me, like if I shoot it, it still hurts. Like it can leave
Oh, it
bruises.
does. Yeah. Yeah,
Like
it
and
will.
I'm not that powerful of a shooter. It's just
Yeah. It'll give you a
Thank you so
welt if
much.
you get a nice little wrist or even a pass in your leg on your leg without any
Yeah.
padding. So yeah, so there's nothing really like it. And if you go back and watch old school footage of hockey, it's like really intense because no one really wears any helmets or gear
Yeah.
or anything, and even
Like in
goalies,
this movie.
like in this movie. That's a good segue.
Yeah.
So we picked The Rocket, which is a Canadian-made movie, and it's a hockey film.
It's
It's a
in La
sports movie.
France.
It's in French, that's right, and Je m'appelle Jordan. That's or comment ça va?
Oh, we're not
Oh, come
doing
on,
this.
Josh.
We're not doing this.
Oh man. Well, I'm Trey Bien, so I'm
I've been
very good.
learning.
I'm very good.
Come see, come saw.
Oh, okay, there you go. And do you know what bad is? Remember what bad is?
Um,
Or like not doing well? Ça va mal.
oh, ça va mal. Yeah.
Mal.
I can say, je suis une pomme de terre.
Well, I don't know what that is. Yeah.
That means I'm a potato. Yeah.
I'm a potato. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So anyways, this movie is very hard to find. If you end up finding it,
Yeah.
you're gonna find out whether you should buy it or not now. But
I tried to find it on Apple. Like I was gonna rent it, and like I just couldn't find it anywhere. It didn't even show up, and so eventually Jordan pulled through and actually gave me the disc, and not just the special features. So.
And it's one of the movies that I put my name on because it is like super rare to find now.
Oh, that's not
And
it.
so
I don't
I
know where
bought
it
this
is.
movie. So yeah. So anyways, we are going to jump into our review. I guess like my week, nothing special really. I blink and the week goes by so fast, right? So
Yeah.
I'm
It's just
kind of
that
working
kind of.
this split today for work. So I did work this morning, and then after this, I'm going to go to the science center with my family, and then I'm
Ooh.
going to work tonight. So that's like our fun. We have a family pass to the science center, which is really cheap. It's like $110.
Well, I mean,
So,
who is really buying
well, going to
that?
the science
So I
center
understand why it's cheap.
individually is like $25.
Is it?
So you actually only have to go like twice or three times if you get the season pass as a family.
Well, I mean,
To make it worth it.
I haven't been to the science center in a long time. I
Well,
think the
our
next
kids
time I
love
go will be probably when I'm a teacher.
Yeah, you will go when you're a teacher. Yeah,
Yeah.
kids love it, and it's like
I
not
know it's
crazy fancy
amazing.
there, but the kids
They
love
have,
it.
you know what? They have a hockey section there
Yeah,
where
they
you
do.
can take
Yeah,
slap shots
yeah.
or just shoot.
They have
And
that. They have like some games now, like a fun ball game. The balls like shoot up, and then you have to like grab them, and whoever grabs the most balls wins. So
I
that's
remember
fun.
always going there, and there's like this C-shaped air hockey table. I love
Yeah,
playing that.
they still have that, and Poppy loves
It's
it.
good.
Yeah,
It's so much fun. I love air hockey.
it is fun. Yeah, and Poppy loves
And
that.
you know the foosball hockey?
You
I
mean
was
foosball?
no, like the hockey where you control the player.
Oh, so it's like the ice rink, and it's got the
Yeah.
dome on it,
So
right?
it's
Yeah.
like a foosball but hockey.
Like more players on the ice, like more players on the board. That thing is hard.
That I was just walking through my university and I hear like these weird noises and I see this flashing light and this random hockey like table just showed up, and so my friends and I just like played that for an hour. Just
That's
like
awesome.
we were just like hanging out and playing this like table hockey. I guess
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
My friend used to have a full like arcade setup, like with the bottom and everything. It
Really?
was huge, and it was in his basement. It was hardcore.
Oh my gosh.
It had little lights in it. Like his dad put lights in the
What?
top of the dome, and the scoreboard
Oh, yeah,
actually worked. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
that was this one. Like it
Yeah.
had lights, the
It was
scoreboard
hardcore.
worked, and they would sing "Oh Canada"
Yeah,
before
I think
every
it might have
game.
been the same similar one that my friend had, and I
Maybe
thought he was
that's
so rich because
it was so loud, and I don't know where it came from, why it is. It's like in a random place
What
too.
part of the
Like it's
university
not
is
like
it in? Is it still there?
it's like it's in that hallway between the ed building and the library.
Well, dude, we should go see if it's still there and play it. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
And then record.
I'm better at foosball than that game. But
Yeah, and like this one, like the puck actually is like slippery, and they have
okay,
like these
yeah,
really long, like goofy looking like sticks. So
yeah.
like this one, it's like the handle is the same um length as the blade.
Are
It's just
are the sticks like broken? Are any of them broken?
no, they're not
Oh, that's good.
broken. They're
That's
just
good.
really weird.
That's a well taken care of board because
Yeah,
those
and
things are
like
old.
the puck flies out from the top. It's just
Yes. Yeah. Man, that's
it's
awesome.
really cool. Yeah.
That's crazy that that's there. Yeah, we'll definitely have to go see if it's still
Yeah,
there and
I
play it.
like I don't know who put it
It's
there.
probably still there. It probably is
Probably. Like
because
I
those
don't know
things are hard to
why.
move and they're expensive and yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, why is it there? And you don't have to
Did
pay.
it? I was gonna just ask. Did it cost any money? No.
No.
Man,
And like
that's fun.
everyone just walks by like, what is this? They're just
Yeah, those
confused.
things
They're
are
like,
just hardcore. They're super fun. We would always play
yeah,
it at the arcade. That game, that and air hockey. Air hockey was like our go-to as
yeah.
well. So, yeah, hockey's fun. It's just hockey. There's so much like tradition in hockey. I was even watching highlights last night when I got home. Even watching the game like together last night. We even the goal light is like a fun like the fact that we
Hmm.
still have goal lights and the lights go red when you
Yeah.
score and like we've kept that tradition and I was even thinking, man, there's nothing like that in any other sport, right? Maybe basketball with like the light going on in the backboard when your time runs out, but
Yeah.
like when you score the light goes on and it's bright and it's pretty, yeah. There's even been cases where people have hit the goal light by accident when
Hmm.
when it wasn't a goal and everyone cheers and the music goes on, lights go on and it's like, no, it didn't go in. And
It's
so
like,
there's
ooh,
just
that's
quirks like that.
embarrassing.
Yeah. There's like that. Those quirks are just part of the sport and part of the fun. And there's no other sport that has like just traditional stuff, maybe except for soccer like that,
Maybe
that
golf,
have been preserved.
water
Yeah, maybe,
polo,
but just like silly
table
things like that,
tennis.
right? Like there's no other sport where the light goes on when you score, and
Really?
yeah, like none
Well, huh.
that I know of.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, like, that's even
Maybe
skating on
table
ice, maybe
tennis.
ringette, but that's, it's a
I
relative of
don't
hockey,
I
but
don't even really know what
maybe
ringette is.
lacrosse. Does lacrosse do it? You've watched lacrosse.
I did watch lacrosse, but I was just so distracted by the goalies and how big
How
they
big they are
are.
and how little the
They
nets
are
are.
huge, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it feels like a dollar store hockey.
Ouch for our national sport, our official
Yeah,
national sport.
I don't know why that is.
It's not.
Like,
It's hockey, but it is
yeah, and so
officially
it's
our
just
national sport. But
like who chose that?
well,
Although
it's probably a
Sa-
bit political too, and
Saskatchewan does have a national team, so
yeah,
but does that mean much?
we don't like, we prefer hockey here, so we're just gonna
Yeah,
stick to that. And hockey is, I consider it our non-official national sport. It is
non-official, official
Canadian
sport.
sports, and we produce the best hockey players in the world. We still
Yeah,
do. And there's like good ones from Russia, Ovechkin,
like
and
Bedard,
some good
for
ones
example.
from, yeah, he's Canadian. There's some good ones from America. Like we've had technically Paul Korea, he's from Hong Kong, I believe, but he is technically American, and Scott Stevens and Eric Lindros. There's been some good American players, Johnny Gaudreau, but no one like Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky and
Mm-hmm.
Sidney
Sydney,
Crosby. Yeah. So it's just a Canadian sport through and through. It still is. And great
Rocket,
players coming from Sweden and stuff still, but
Maurice Richard.
is one of the greatest to ever play. He's probably in my top 3 personally. He's probably in the top 5 of all time. But yeah, that's a great reminder that we're reviewing that movie. So let us review The Rocket.
The Rocket.
Richard, you're playing tonight.
Ça fait des années que vous vous démenez dans cette ligue de fous-là.
T'as une famille. Tu fracasses des records. Tu remplis les arénas partout, puis la Ligue te protège pas. Pourquoi?
He's gonna fall apart. You know what they're trying to do to you, Maurice. And what are you gonna do about it? I don't want to see Maurice tonight. I want the Rocket! They're not gonna leave.
Okay, so this movie came out in 2005,
Yes.
and it is directed by Charles Benam or Bename. I have no French accent. So, written by Ken Scott. This is, I believe, the government of Quebec funded part of this as well. So this is like funded by the province of Quebec. It was given a grant, I think. It was only shot on $8 million, so it's like relatively low budget.
8 million, wow.
Yeah, and it's starring Roy Dupuis, Patrice Robitaille, who used to play for the LA Kings. Or no, sorry, that was Luc Robitaille. But Patrice, who did he play for? I think it was Boston. He used to play in the NHL. Michel Barrette is Mr. Norchette, and that is the father of Maurice's fiance or wife.
Mhm.
So like relatively, I think, local people. Remy Girard has been in some movies. He plays Tony Bergeron. So there are a few. Now the coach, who played the coach? Let's see here. Can never remember his name, but he is a famous actor. He's in quite a few things.
What's his name again?
I'm just pulling it up here.
Like, what was his name in the movie?
He was the Montreal Canadiens coach.
Yeah, but what was his name?
I can't remember the coach.
I should know this. Was it Stephen McHattie?
Yes.
Dick Irvin.
Yes. There you go.
Or they called him Rich.
Yes. So he's in quite a few movies. Let me just make sure that's correct. So as I look this up, Josh, so he's probably Roy Dupuis and him are probably the only like recognizable actors in this movie. And then if you know some hockey players like Steve Avery plays.
I didn't recognize any of the hockey players.
Right. Let me just see here.
But also this was from 2005, so.
Right. So Steve Avery plays. No, that is not the right person, Josh.
What?
I'm just gonna pull up the IMDb here. Okay, so as I pull this up, what were your initial thoughts?
Wait, I like this movie. It was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
But like, I pretty much woke up this morning and immediately started playing it because I knew we had that. We had to record, and so it was kind of a wake up call today.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was good. I really enjoyed it, and like it was funny because like they would score and I'd be like, yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm not watching a hockey game. I'm watching this like drama.
Right.
And so I don't know, it was just kind of cool. And it was like really exciting when he like got his 45th goal and set the record.
Yeah.
It's just really cool to just like kind of live in that moment. Cause like, again, I was 2 years old when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't alive when it happened in like 1944 or whenever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like you weren't alive, I assume.
No. Not that old.
Unless you were. But But yeah, it was just kind of cool to just like live in the moment and like kind of like see hockey history happen.
Yes.
It's just kind of cool, and just like to see them not wearing helmets, and then they like so much more blood.
Yeah. So you were right. It was Stephen McAdie who plays Dick Irvin, the coach.
You
Yeah. He's in a lot of stuff. Like he's in 300. He's in the movie called The Covenant that was famous back in 2006. He's in just lots of stuff. His famous
lot of
role
old
is
movies.
300. Yeah. He's not really acting anymore. So yeah, and Dick Irvin's a famous coach. Like he is known to be the one to unlock Maurice Richard, like to unlock his potential, right? And it was controversial because he didn't speak French either. He spoke English
and then
only.
at the end he was like, "Merci beaucoup."
Yeah, he speaks in French at the end, which is that moment. What'd you think of that moment? Like, what'd you think of the outcome of the movie, even the political stuff? Because this movie is about Quebec finding its voice, right? This movie is
I
about,
thought it was cool.
yeah,
And it was because like the whole movie, you kind of see the coaches like really hard on them and just like, I don't care, like just win.
yeah,
And so it was just kind of cool to see just that relationship he's built and that he cared enough to like learn some French because he knows how they feel. And it really just built up that relationship that teams have, not only in hockey, but just in general.
right,
Like hockey teams, not hockey teams, sports teams are like some of the most tight knit, like best relationship connections that you can have sometimes, and that's where a lot of people get it from. There's a lot of camaraderie, and so it just kind of, it really just, what's the word? Heighten that and emphasize that point. So
like as a film, you like this movie? Like it worked for you?
It was really good. I liked the history because I hadn't heard about a lot of this.
Yeah.
And just like the fact that, which a lot of people don't like Quebec. Like in Canada, it's like, oh, Quebec, they're snobby.
Right.
But I guess this movie kind of made them, it kind of humanized them. So, which still, Quebec is they're kind of mean sometimes, but
Well, it shows this movie is a good history lesson to show people like what the climate was in Canada as well.
yeah.
So it was just very much and then, Montreal is a part of this league since the beginning. They're one of the original teams ish. Like it's up for debate. I'm just gonna look that up right now.
I don't think they're not the original 6.
No, they're not. Sorry.
I don't know this. I enjoyed this movie. It was a ride, and it was the guy kind of reminded me of what's his name? Oh, is it the guy from Evil Dead? Like he kind of looked like him.
The guy from Evil Dead. You're talking about the guy who
chainsaw
plays
arm?
Maurice Richard?
Yeah, like the chainsaw arm guy.
Yeah, like he looks. What's his name? He plays Ash in Evil Dead.
Yeah, Ash. He looks like Ash, and I couldn't unsee that.
So Roy Dupuis is in a bunch of like CBC type movies, like made movies. Bruce Campbell, that's who it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looked like Bruce Campbell.
Right. Yeah. So the original 6, I was right. The Montreal Canadiens are in the original 6.
They are.
Yeah, and so they formed.
Oh no, it's Toronto that wasn't.
1942 is when the league officially formed. Well, right. Not necessarily. So like Montreal Canadiens formed 1909, Toronto Maple Leafs formed in 1917. So the Canadiens are technically the oldest team. Red Wings are 1926, Blackhawks 26, Boston Bruins 24, and then the Rangers in 26.
Wait, who was 17?
So the birth of the league was technically 17? November of 1917, but I think
you said the Leafs.
The
Was it
Leafs were
or the Habs?
1917. Yeah, the second
Oh,
oldest. Yeah,
wait, then when were the Canadians?
1909.
Oh,
And then so the Canadians are the oldest team. They're the first technically the first NHL team. But in November of 1917, 4 club owners from the National Hockey Association formed a new league due to ongoing disputes with the 5th NHA, which is the National Hockey Association. So the NHL was born in 1917, and then all the original 6 were formed by 1926. And then they started keeping official stats in 1942.
yeah.
Ish. They kept stats before that, but it says here for the next 25 years, the 6 teams left standing at the beginning of the 1942 season were all the NHL had. So 1942 is when the league started branching out and talking about bringing other teams in. But for a long time, it was these 6 teams.
Now we're at 32.
And so this movie, I think it's good for someone that's new to hockey to watch because you understand where a lot of these rivalries come from, right? You understand like the history of the league and how it was born as well. So what's really cool is some of the footage you see in the movie is actually real footage of Maurice Richard. They put in real footage. Yeah. So some of that black and white footage is
all
real.
The black and white. Okay.
Not all of it. Some of it is. But
I was confused because I'm like, why is this part black and white?
Yes. Yeah. So that's like original
That makes
footage.
a lot more sense now. So like there's a scene at the beginning where he was like walking and then there's just these like kids just like chilling outside.
Right.
So that
yeah, and all the footage of the riot, that's all real footage of the riot.
Oh yeah.
Even some of his press conference, I believe, is in there. Some of the press conference from the original press conference is in there of the rocket.
Oh yeah, I guess they could have used also like voice, like radio.
Yeah. So Maurice Richard retired in 1960.
And died in 2000.
Yes. And he's got a trophy named after him, a scoring trophy, the Rocket Richard trophy.
Yeah.
Just seeing here, 1921 he was born, 1940
which also, speaking of trophies, when they mentioned Conn Smythe, I was like, whoa. I know that name.
Yeah, the person.
Yeah. He was like the GM for Toronto. And it was funny because he's like, you pea soup or whatever derogatory term they used.
Which is a common term for French Canadian people. That's a common like slang.
Oh, is it still used? Yeah.
I think sometimes, yeah. It's considered racial now, I think.
French and Canadians.
Even though it's not a racial thing. But yeah, but you can see even how the league treated Montreal. Like,
but yeah, no, it was funny. Well, maybe not funny, but it was interesting to see his wife stand up for him, and he's like, "Oh, can you like talk to your husband and try to convince him to move to Toronto?" So it was funny that he was all like chirping him, and then just was like, "Oh, like come here."
Yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of funny.
And that's up for debate. I think Toronto people would say Conn Smythe never did that, right? So like that's why I like movies like this because I love behind the scenes sports movies of like general managing and like the politics of the sport. And I find it, Moneyball is a good movie to watch about that stuff, right? Where it's about,
you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually going to watch the movie Air tonight.
Oh, I'm jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going with
because I want to see it.
Cam.
Nice. Yeah.
Because he missed my birthday party. He was like, we can go to a different movie, so we're gonna go watch that.
That's fun, man. That's a fun story too.
A lot of hockey movies today, or not hockey, sports movies today.
Well, okay. So, have you seen other sports movies, Josh? Have you seen?
I've seen Mighty Ducks.
Right.
Is
that it?
Wait. Let me think.
Like, have you seen Friday Night Lights? Have you seen?
I've seen
Titans? Not the show, the movie.
Oh, I've seen the. Oh my gosh!
Have you seen Rudy? Any Given
that
Sunday?
One football movie with
Blindside.
Yeah, Blindside.
The Blindside. Yeah.
There's another one that I'm trying to think of. Oh gosh. Oh, I think I've seen Airbud.
Come on, Josh. Oh,
I
man.
think there's another one,
So
but I seem to
you
forget.
need to watch Friday Night Lights, the movie. You need to watch Remember the Titans, the movie,
Okay.
because there's TV shows and they're terrible.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I've watched Ted Lasso. Oh, and Bend It with Beckham.
Bend it like Beckham.
Bend It Like
Yeah,
Beckham.
yeah.
I remember as a kid we called it the
So this
swearing movie.
is like your first like serious sports movie, because those movies are kind of lighter.
Well, if you count Indian Horse,
Oh, I haven't
which
seen that
isn't,
yet.
it's not necessarily a hockey movie. It has hockey in it,
Right,
but it's more on like residential schools. But
right.
that one's on the line. I swear I've seen more. I just can't really think.
Right. So, like, as a sports movie, do you like sports
I haven't
movies? Are you
even-
interested to watch more sports movies? They're going to air, so that's a sports
See,
movie.
I think they're interesting because a lot of them are Oh, I've seen Creed, Creed 3.
Right. So a fictional, yeah.
I think they're interesting because a lot of them are dramas and just like
Right.
they're good. They're fun movies. They're good movies because it's just you're rooting for something. It's usually like an underdog going to fight and win, and you're just like, it feels so good because you see all this like, all these hardships they go through,
Right.
and like the pain they endure, and then in the end, like usually they win. Maybe not sometimes. I haven't seen that many. Like in Airbud, he won. So
I'm not going to spoil any for you, but
yeah.
yeah.
But
So, and this movie is definitely an underdog story, right? This movie
it
is
feels they're kind of feel goods while also being like heartbreaking.
well, and this movie has a lot of that. It has the tension
Yeah.
between his father-in-law and him, right?
Yeah,
And his
which they
daughter.
never really deal with near the end.
Well, I mean, that's how it was,
Like,
though. Like, that's
Yeah,
how,
I guess that's true.
you know, Maurice Richard, when he won one of his awards, so when he retired, he threw his father-in-law under the bus, like, publicly. And his
Ooh.
father-in-law denied stuff, like, denied it all, of
That's
course,
crazy.
right? So,
And he did his brother-in-law so dirty.
yes. Yes. But it shows you the tension of him, even early hockey, even though there wasn't TV, like, you know, a lot of people listened on the radio and stuff. Like the players are so much kind of more accessible because they just lived everyday lives. They didn't get paid millions of dollars, and they
Although they
lived
did
on
get
your
paid
street
enough.
at times, right? So, sorry, Josh, what was that?
They did get paid enough, apparently.
Right. Well, later in the movie, he becomes a star, right? And that tension there is him doing well, and like, and then the in-laws are jealous, right? So like there is that tension there.
Yeah. It also, you know what this movie also shows is just how, like, if one player was amazing, it just showed how easy it was for them. Like, you think of Connor McDavid right now and how he's like a
Right.
league above. If you were a league above back then, like you were getting maybe 5 goals a game, and like it was just insane because like nobody was.
That's what Maurice Richard was. He was,
And yeah, and so like with like Gretzky, like
he was the Gretzky of his time.
He was ahead of the time.
Yes.
And so it was just kind of cool to see that because like now Connor McDavid is like the best, but he doesn't score every game. Like in the first playoff game, he was pointless. Not pointless, but without points. And so it's just kind of cool to see that where he just goes in and scores. And it
even the games where he's not doing well, and then like third period kicks in, and
the only thing he had to worry about was not dying in this movie,
right?
Because he has no helmet.
Well, there's tension between Boston, right? Like, you see the Boston Canadiens rivalry. I forgot to mention
with
Dill, who was
was
the bully of the time.
I loved that.
So that the player who plays Dill is Sean Avery.
It was so funny because like, and I kind of saw it coming where he was trying to pick a fight with Dill, and he just comes and just one hits him. He falls. He comes back, one hits him, and they just like it. I thought that was just kind of funny. It was dangerous, obviously.
And then it was the Boston series where the refs held them, right?
Yeah, why was he holding him like that?
It happened. You can go look at
He was
footage.
just holding
Yeah.
him as he like
Yeah.
punched him. So I understood why he punched the ref because like,
And of course,
what are you doing?
Americans in Boston's going to say that didn't happen, but you can go look at footage and you can see it.
How can you say that didn't happen when there's proof? They're just
but there was the bias against the French Canadians and the Canadians in general, right? There was a rift between Canadian
which you
teams
still
and-
you sometimes still see that where
yes, yeah,
like it's all America. America just always has to be the best. They always have to like I don't know. It's really annoying, and that's why I've come to a point in the playoffs where I'm like, I just want a Canadian team to win,
right?
because you're literally using half of the Canadian players to win,
Right.
And so
yeah. So this movie, I think this movie is probably, because I love hockey the most, it is my favorite sports movie. This is another one that I try to watch once a year or once every 2 years.
Airbud's pretty good though.
And I don't love the Canadians. Like, I'm a Flames fan. I never have, but I remember I loved Maurice Richard's story growing up.
Yeah.
Because he was very small and almost like Theo Fleury.
You're small.
Yeah. So I actually, when I played hockey, I had the number 9. I always wanted the number 9. So,
little Jordan.
yeah. So Maurice
That's
Richard
so cute.
is just like he's an icon for hockey, for NHL. And I think it's important for people like you who don't even know who he is or his story to watch this, because this is a very truthful telling of his story. Of course, probably some creative liberties with his personal story and whatnot, but I do like this movie is full of drama, and it's not like, it's kind of cheesy in the right ways. It's just like really when it needs to be hammy, it's
there's some
really
points
hammy.
where it's almost soap opera-y.
Right, which I like though. It suits. I
My
don't know, like
life sucks, and she's like,
Yeah.
I love you. I
Yes.
still love you, and he's like, oh, but
and
hockey.
she's like, and then she's pregnant, and they have no money.
Which
and-
was she pregnant at the end?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
Like how many kids?
I can't remember. I don't know, 2 or 3.
Because like I feel like the one like she's like, all right, boys, go clean up. I'm like,
I think it's
boys.
2 or 3. Yeah, yeah.
Also, this movie jumped around a lot. It was
Okay,
like
yeah.
with dates. So I
But
think
it jumps forward a lot. It doesn't go back and forth, does it?
But it kind of did though, because it would kind of go to the future and then go back. And so I was kind of confused.
It starts in the future, right? It starts in the future, and then it tells the story, doesn't it? Or no?
Yeah, I don't know. It was hard to. I like understood what was happening, but then there would be things where it's like, okay, boys. I'm like, wait, she has 2 more kids now. Like, when did this happen?
Well, they show the birth of one of them, right? So
yeah, and so it's just kind of hard to keep up with what was which I understand why. Like, that's not as important, but
no. Yeah.
And I don't want it to be a 3-hour movie.
Well, that line is, I think that's good writing, because that line is showing you, oh, time has passed. There's 2 kids now, you know?
Yeah, maybe I was just tired because I woke up to this movie.
That's friends, that's good writing. That's not, instead of telling you
good,
2 years,
writing.
2 years later,
Trust
it says,
me,
hey,
that is a
boys,
good writing. Well,
there's more than one
the
boy.
The thing is, they would say,
time has passed.
1444 season. Okay, boys. So
but that's I honestly, that's bad writing. Like when a movie has to tell you, and I don't like doc movies for having dates like that, because that's the studio. The studio would be like, movie, Josh, what you're describing is what the studio would say. They would say, oh, we need to show the year.
Well, I'm not saying they need to show the year. I'm just saying they showed the year and then had this writing.
Okay.
So they had both.
Right. And that's a studio thing. So you don't.
And I honestly, showing the year was kind of messed me up, because I'm like, okay, what? Like, they kept showing it over and over again. And I'm just like, I don't even know what year we're in now. Why would you show me what the year is?
Well, the reason I think too they show the year is because if you know the story, you get excited for what's going to come. Like, when he's going to break his record.
And I think this one is important because it's documenting his life.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what it's almost like a documentary. Like, this is what happened this year.
Yes.
And so
it's like a drama documentary. I don't know what that
I-
is called, but
This is a dramatic thriller.
dramatic
a political
retelling.
thriller.
A dramatic retelling. There you
This
go.
is a political thriller.
So this movie actually does make me emotional, like watching it again. Like especially when the coach speaks French at the end, because there's
He's
that
like,
whole
merci
rift.
beaucoup.
Yeah, and there's that whole rift of
Le hockey.
there's not rift. There's a journey that the
Coupe de
coach has.
Stanley.
There's a coach that there's a journey the coach has been on with the players, and they
Mhm.
hated him at first because he was an English speaking person, and he's trying to relate.
English speakers.
He's trying to relate to his players because in Montreal, you weren't allowed to play in Montreal if you didn't speak French.
So then
So
why was their coach English?
because no one else would come work there, and he was a
Wow.
very good coach. He was
To be honest,
well-renowned.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
work in Montreal, so
He was renowned, and it was actually controversial that the GM for Montreal got him to come in. That was very controversial. That people wanted the GM fired, but it created this amazing relationship.
People always want the GM fired,
Yes, yeah.
no matter what the GM does.
But this movie also showed how because people knew where the GM lived, right? So they would
Right.
go after his home. You know what I mean? Like everyone involved in hockey was so much more accessible. So it's a
was
very different
Campbell
time.
the GM?
No,
Or he was the hockey guy,
commissioner.
the NHL guy.
Yeah, he was
Right.
the NHL commissioner. So
Right. So
and
who was the GM? What
he
was his
was he was the one that he was the one that favored Boston in that, which is real.
Wow.
That's all real. Like
They
in
still
that
do
incident.
that.
Come on, Josh.
They still favor the American teams. And Toronto.
So yeah, going back to the movie, this movie hit all the right
Noah
moments
Jordan.
really well. I found like the moment where he breaks the scoring record, the moment where he comes back from the locker room after getting stitches, right? And he's got
Mhm.
blood. That's a very iconic picture of his
Blood
blood on his jersey.
Big disgrace.
And he finished the
Kicking your
game and got the
can
game-winning
all
goal, I
over the
believe.
place.
That
That was literally we literally saw this happen recently with
yes. Well, you didn't get the
Barron
game-winning
from
goal.
the Jets.
No, but he didn't get. he
Well,
wasn't.
either way,
Yeah.
he got 72 stitches by his eye and then came
Right.
back and played. But it just kind of showed that hockey has kind of it's kind of the same. It's a lot more safe now, but
Right.
it's still kind of the same.
It's
Also,
not a lot more safe now at all. Because
Well,
then you're not shooting the
fact-
puck at 80 miles
when
per
it comes
hour.
to concussions,
But like back, like obviously there's no concussion protocol or whatever. So it shows you the rougher edges of hockey back when they didn't care about any of that stuff, right? Like you
Mhm.
got hurt, and that was it, and that's life, right? But it also showed you when Maurice gets injured, it affects his personal life and his job. And I like that it showed that he worked 2 jobs, right? He worked a job on the
Mhm.
side for a while. So it's just I like that this movie captures that era of hockey very well, very realistically. Even the teams sitting on the trains going to their next game, right?
Yeah.
Reading the newspaper. Hey, look, Maurice, this is what they're writing about you in Boston, in New
do
York.
you think they still
And-
do that?
Oh yeah. And like
I'm
Maurice reads it to pump himself up, right? Like he
Yeah.
invites the reading and he's like,
Yeah.
we're ready to go. Or like that was when Coach
Wow.
Dick Irvin was like, hey Maurice, look what they're saying about you, and you ready to kill him? Like he's trying to pump him up, right?
Yeah.
And it's those little moments are really well done and really, I don't know, like I love sport. I think sport's really important in our society. I
Mhm.
think it's always been a fabric of our society since the beginning of humanity. We've always done sport, and I like it when movies show the emotional side to the athletes that we kind of worship, right?
Yeah.
That we look up to, and they're just humans. And like the fact that humans can do these amazing things and like they handle the pressure in certain ways, and I find that
And, like,
stuff fascinating.
The Leafs in the first game.
Right, and then they bounce back the next game, like
Yeah.
look like normal. Like how does that even happen? And I don't think people realize.
There's
No,
a whole emotional side to hockey.
Right. And I like individual sports. Like I love watching tennis. I love tennis and I love
I
golf.
know.
I like playing golf. But when you're playing a team sport, there like people have
It's
no idea
special.
what it's like. Like anything can throw off your team for a game. Anything. It can be even someone saying, now we have Twitter and stuff. So it can be like, LeBron, I hated what he said about me on Twitter. And it can throw the whole game off. Like a team game, there's so much chemistry and there's so much in the locker room that is like amped up and no one really realizes that, right? Or even if there's a rift between the coach and you know what I mean? That's why this movie, when it highlights those big milestone moments with the coach and the players, with Maurice standing up for Quebec and playing in Boston when he was told not to play in Boston, and he did it anyways because he was gutless, right? Like it captures all those moments, and then he triumphs over all that stuff, even in the face of unfairness, you know. And I do like how they captured the riot. I do like how they.
Well, I mean, it was literally images and videos from
right,
it. So.
But just how like his press conference afterwards and how Maurice does say sorry to Campbell, but then he still calls him out, you know, like because Maurice did that. Like he was a fighter, but he was also kind of a gentleman too. Like he's known to be kind of this, like, especially the older he got, he gave more to charity and he did a lot more philanthropy and he just was kind of becoming a more gentle person. Right. So, but to play in that league at that time, you had to be cutthroat.
You could not be a gentleman.
No. And like
you had to murder.
Even the class stuff in the movie was really good, where they showed the people sitting in the stands, you know, the chain link separating the lower class from the upper. So that was good. It highlights the time period really well. This movie is an excellent.
And there was no glass. Like the fans could jump on the ice.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And the puck could just fly into the.
Yeah.
So it's just, this is such a good period movie. If you like period pieces and period movies, this captures this time period really well. Even showing how kids grew up playing hockey outside in Montreal, that area, in Quebec.
Well, everywhere in Canada.
Right. Still to this day, you know, and I like the way it's shot. It's shot on film. It looks really good. It looks like old, which is good. Like it looks kind of,
It picture looks like it's from 2005.
Picture looks grainy. It looks like textured, and it just has a lot of character to it, which I love film way more than digital, right? So,
yeah. Well, Nope was film.
Yeah, lots. You know, even Succession. Watching that's all filmed on film, right?
Oh, right. Succession, the movie
the show.
You're obsessed with.
So this movie, I love this movie. I think it's a very good film. My criticisms for it, I do think it's a little preachy on the political side. It probably takes the Quebec side a little too.
See, I didn't understand.
Right.
I think I missed it. Why they were like, I don't know what Campbell did.
Well, I mean,
the politics flew over my head.
Well, they ruled against Maurice all the time, right? And then they also ruled against. They put what happened in that time period too is. Campbell put a special tax or cap on Montreal, so they couldn't get as many good players. So stuff like that, and then it angered Quebecers, right? It angered people from Quebec, and they rallied behind Maurice because he was the best player in the league, one of the best of all time, right? In the top 5 for sure, and he became the rallying cry for them.
It was interesting to see like how like one player kind of like revived it where like he would be selling out. And we've seen this recently with Bedard on the Pats.
Yep.
Where like he would go places and like sell out.
Yes.
And so it's just this movie just proved that like not a lot has changed.
No.
While a lot has changed. Like it's like
the sport looks a bit different. The sport is played differently now.
But it's really just, and like you mentioned this at the beginning with the goal lights, it's like good old hockey. Like,
yeah.
This is the good old hockey game, and so
and the NHL today,
that's just really cool to see.
Well, Gary Bettman is trying to get rid of all that stuff. Like the NHL today, you watch the All-Star game, and it was terrible. It was just awful.
Yeah.
And people, you know, hockey is like a religion, like most sports are, and you have to try to preserve what has come before you, right? Like even this year, they've gotten rid of. They're calling tons of penalties in the playoffs, which usually is not a thing, and they
Yeah.
have stopped fighting this year, which is terrible. You can tell that they're
Have
trying
they?
to. Oh, absolutely, yeah. There used to be way more fighting. They
Well,
now
I
when you
mean,
watch a lot of games, they split up the fight right away. If they and the only way they can't, or the only way when they don't, is when they can't get to it in time. So they're trying to get rid of fighting. They're trying to get rid of the stuff, and
but that's
I'm
like
so
what makes hockey hockey.
it's a part of hockey. They are allowed to fight. It's violent. It's part of the game. If you don't like it, don't watch it and don't
like
play it.
what is their motive in that?
Because it's too violent for kids to watch. It's too
Yeah.
and I don't agree. That's not hockey. And go watch something else if you don't want to watch
Golf.
violence. Yes,
Go watch golf.
So,
Go watch Airbud.
Go
and
watch
Mighty
Airbud.
Ducks.
Because a
Even-
good hockey fight can, if your team is playing poorly, a hockey fight, a good one, if you win it, can swing the game in your direction, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Like you remember when Ryan Nugent Hopkins, he picked a fight and he won, and like he's just not that kind of guy to do that.
No.
But like that was like
that sends
that
a
brought
message.
so much hype.
Yes.
So many people were like on it. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Nuge!"
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like it makes people talk about it. It brings like, I don't know, like they need more people to talk about it because NHL isn't as popular as like the NBA or football, not even close to football. And
no.
so, but I feel like it's growing more and more.
Well, you're a new fan, so
I am.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think if you like period pieces and dramas, if you like a good family story, if you like a story about a man standing up
A
for
good
his
old
family,
hockey game.
right? This movie is all that stuff, and it's a good underdog story about a kid that used to play hockey outside, just becoming one of the best players to ever play the game. Now there's stuff named after him, and
Rocky Richard, which, by the way,
yeah,
McDavid won.
McDavid did win it. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, Josh, what would you give this? I don't know. Have anything before you give your rating? Do you have anything else to say about the music and stuff and the acting? Did you like the acting?
I didn't really think about. It was good.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool to watch it in French because I've been learning French.
nice.
So
yeah,
and like I recognize some of the things they said, and like some of the words that they showed. So I thought it was pretty cool. I felt rewarding in a way because I'm now at like 142-day streak, and I feel like I haven't learned anything.
Did you recognize some words and
like
Good.
Coupe de Stanley, which is
Yep.
Stanley Cup, which is the Cup of Stanley
yes,
in French because they speak strangely. Well, not strangely, just different from English. But yeah, no, it was a good movie. I don't know if I'd watch it in the morning like I did. Like, I think if I were going to watch it, I wouldn't have as much of a time crunch, but you know,
Right.
it was still good. I enjoyed it. I think I would give this movie like a 7
out of 10.
or a 6 or, a 7.
Yeah.
I'll do a 7. It was a good movie. It's definitely enjoyable. Oh, the music, I didn't really focus. The music didn't really stand out to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I love the way this movie is shot. I like how it balances the real footage. It mixes well with their filmed, like what they filmed and how they filmed it looks pretty vintage, like how it would have looked. I like I love the hockey shots of them playing hockey. I thought that was captured really well. It was really visceral. And
there was one scene that I really enjoyed where it was at the beginning of the movie, and like this stood out to me where he like walks up to the player room, hands them something, and so everything's blurry in the background. And you just see the back of his head.
Right.
And so he hands the paper and like he looks and you can see the players in the background. Then he closes the door and it's like, whoa.
Yes.
You just like hear like yelling.
Yes.
And
yeah. It's a good
I
moment.
just thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
So
it handles those dramatic moments really well. And then later on you learn what that moment was, right? You learn that they won. They finally got the verdict they wanted, and you're bought in emotionally, and you're like, man, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. So Yeah, I love this movie. As a fan of hockey, this is a must watch for any hockey fans. I think this
Mm-hmm.
is my favorite sports movie. I don't think it's the best of all time. Maybe we can do
Not
a list.
Miracle.
Yeah, definitely not Miracle. That story sucks. That I think
I think I'll still watch Miracle.
that team got lucky that year. Anyways, that as you watch sports movies, Josh, it'd be fun to do a list one day of the
Yeah.
best sports movies. But I do love this movie. This movie, as a Canadian, like I'm very proud to be Canadian, even though I
Yeah.
love America as well. But
Even though we live in Detroit.
right, I am very proud to be Canadian. I love my country and I love being in Saskatchewan. So
I love Michigan.
I don't know, like this movie, and like BC people where I'm from treat Saskatchewan people the way the rest of Canada treats Quebec people. So I like the little
Why?
guy, and they just do.
Why
They hate Saskatchewan. So
Well, we're better, so
we are better.
BC people are full of themselves.
Oh, we're
You know what? Toronto people are too. So
So out of 5 stars, I'll give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, this movie's really good.
okay.
So
I have something to say. Jordan, if you've made it this far into the podcast, make sure to text me hockey political thriller.
Hockey political thriller. Nice.
Yes. So yeah, Jordan, if you made it this far, text me.
Hockey political
Is
thriller.
that your daughter?
Come here. Oh. Say hi.
Hi.
You got to back up a bit.
You're on the podcast.
This is Poppy Lynn. This is my oldest.
Hi, Poppy.
How old are you, Poppy?
3.
3. That's right. Yeah, there you go. Good job.
There you go.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
Well, thank you for watching and for listening. And yeah, this is our review. I guess I didn't have a lot of critiques for the movie, but it is a long one. It's 2 hours long. So maybe that's my critique. But we love the Rocket. And thank you for listening this far. Make sure you text Josh his
hockey
phrase,
political thriller.
Hockey political thriller. Nice. And next week we will be back. Josh, what are we reviewing next week? Is it my turn to pick?
I don't know.
I think it's probably
Sure.
we can, what we could do? We could have, in 2 weeks we'll have Peyton on to do the Babadook, 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
And next week will be a surprise. I'll pick the movie. I'll send it to Josh.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. But thank you so much for listening to the Cinematic Dores podcast. And Josh?
Yes, thank you for coming. Don't forget to close the door on the way out.